Parshas Chaya Sarah. Did I get the parsha right? I hope so. Okay. I've talked about this before. You know, I've gotten on my soapbox before about the way that we do shidduchim today. You know, and I'm a big, I'm an outspoken critic of that. We've just totally distorted the whole shidduch process today with resumes and photographs, and you got to say what size your dress is in order to be able to go out on a date. It's ridiculous and it's obscene. And it's just a corruption. But we'll put that aside for now. But one thing that we should discuss is the very first shidduch date is between Yitzchak and Rivka that we read about in the Torah. It is about Yitzchak finding a wife via a proxy. He has a shadchan, really not a shadchan, but Avraham says to Eliezer, go and bring someone from my family. And he goes to Aram Naharayim and brings back Rivka, and Yitzchak is where? Where is Yitzchak when he first meets Rivka? He's out in the field. The Yitzchak ba mibo be'er lachai roi. He is out in the field by a well called Be'er lachai roi. And the Torah tells us, V'hu yoshev be'eretz hanegev, it's in the southern part of Israel. And it says, Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh lifnot arev, that Yitzchak goes out to speak, to converse towards evening time, which, as we'll see in a moment, our sages understand to mean he went to pray towards evening. Vayisayna vayar v'hinei gimalim ba'im. And he lifted up his eyes, and behold, the camels were coming. And of course, on one of those camels was Rivka. Now, was it merely coincidence that as he's davening, Rivka appears? There are no coincidences, of course not. It's not after he davens that Rivka appears, but mamish while he's davening, Rivka appears. So let's take a look. I want to see two commentaries. I want to see the Kli Yakar and then the Berditchever. The Kli Yakar says, in source number 2, Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basadeh lifnot arev. That Yitzchak went out into the field towards evening to pray. Chazal lamdu mikan, she Yitzchak tikein tfilat mincha, shu lifnot erev samuch le'erev shemesh. Our sages derive from here that Yitzchak instituted the prayer of Mincha, which is said towards evening time, as the sun is about to set. Parenthetically, I should point out that in Jewish law, in halacha, women are not obligated to pray 3 times a day, but according to most poskim, women are obligated to pray twice a day, shacharis and mincha. Mincha is a prayer that should be, whenever a woman has the ability to say it, she should accept it upon herself to daven mincha daily. And it's a very short tefillah. It's Ashrei, Shmona Esrei, and Aleinu, and your Yotzei, and you can do it between your various chores over the course of the day. Of course, the level of obligation that women have in prayer versus men does not rise as high, and so therefore if there are pressing issues that do not allow you to daven mincha, you should not stress over it, but nonetheless, if you do have the time, and if you do have the ability, mincha is a very powerful prayer, as you're about to see. So we know that Avraham instituted shacharit, we know that Yitzchak instituted mincha, and we know that Yaakov instituted arvit or ma'ariv. Umikan samach lama she'amru chazal, la'olam yizaher adam b'tfilat hamincha. From this whole story, we can derive a textual support for what our sages tell us. They said a person should always be careful with davening mincha. Shekain Eliyahu lo na'aneh ki'im b'tfilat hamincha. Because Eliyahu on Mount Carmel prayed throughout the day, but it was only through his prayer of mincha that his prayers were fully answered. That God should do a miracle for him to show that his version of religion was the correct religion that the Jewish people should adhere to in that famous tournament on Mount Carmel. Ve'afal pisha Avram v'Yaakov tiknu gam tfilat shacharit va'arvit mikol makom lo matzinu shena'anu miyad v'tekev. He says, where do you see the superiority of mincha as an effective prayer? Because Avram, it's true, instituted shacharis. It's true that Yaakov instituted ma'ariv, but their prayers were not immediately responded to in the same way that Yitzchak's prayer Immediately, like just as he's taking his 3 steps back, there's Rivka. So you see that there's an immediacy to Hashem's being able to answer your prayers when you're davening mincha. Aval b'tfilat mincha matzinu sheyitzchak na'ana miyad, ki mistam hitpalel Yitzchak al hazivug ba'od hayot Eliezer baderech. What was Yitzchak davening for? What do you think he was davening mincha for? That he should find a good chavrusa in yeshiva? He was davening that he should find the proper zivug. He knew where Eliezer was. He knew that Eliezer is on the way home, probably. And so his prayer was, please Hashem, please, 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 send the right woman with Eliezer.
Wasn't it too late that he's already on the way?
That's a very good question, Elaine. Very good question. I'm going to get to that. I want to get to that momentarily. One explanation, one answer to that question is that we know that Eliezer had kfitza saderech. So it could be that Yitzchak davened a long mincha, like an hour-long mincha, and at the beginning of mincha, Eliezer was still debating, or deliberating with the family to let Rivka come. And then, by the time he was finished with mincha, he had kfitza saderech, as our sages tell us. He had a miraculous super speed travel back to Israel, and he was able to greet his master at that point. But anyway, I'm going to get to that in a minute. It's an excellent question. As our sages tell us that a pious person is supposed to pray for 8 mitzvot, those words mean a pious person is supposed to pray for a proper wife. And that's precisely why Yitzchak said that prayer out in the field. Now, why was Yitzchak, if he was davening for a proper shidduch, why is the field the most appropriate place for him to be davening? Because what happens in a field? You plant. You plant. And we know that Yitzchak was blessed with tremendous yield in his planting, because it says, the term me'ah she'arim, me'ah sharim? That comes from Yitzchak. He planted and he had 100-fold yield. That's what me'ah she'arim means. Kamo shenemar va'yizra Yitzchak ba'aretz hahi va'imtza me'ah she'arim. Kal v'chomer she'yitin lo isha karka olam asher totzi zera tov v'yashar b'nei Elokim. So he felt that the field was a place which is appropriate to pray for a wife, because what is one of the benefits of having a good wife? To be able to produce a good yield, a good crop of what? Of children. So that's why he went out into the field to daven. And that's why immediately after he finished, he lifts up his eyes and he sees the camels are coming. While he was davening, his eyes were towards the ground, with humility and avoiding any eye contact with anything in his environment so that he shouldn't get distracted. But once he's finished, lifts up his eyes. That's why the Torah says he lifted up his eyes, because he finished his prayers and he sees Rivka coming. And that's where he finds his bashert. He says, and this is how we know that when a person davens mincha, there's a greater likelihood that his prayers will be answered during the petition that he makes during mincha. So what's the reason? What's so special about mincha? So the Kli Yakar offers his own insight why mincha is so special. He says, "V'tamoshel davar lefi shemidat hadin mekadreg davka b'layla." So he gives us a very esoteric, mystical answer. He says the prayers that you say in the evening is at a time of night, when night represents darkness, midat hadin, a time of judgment. Morning, it comes right after the night, so therefore there's still a lingering of midat hadin, of the stern justice of God. But mincha is in the middle of the day, which represents midat harachamim, where the sun is still shining, so therefore your answers have a greater likelihood to be answered at mincha. I want to give you a different answer from the Reb Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev, the Kedushas Levi. He has such a beautiful explanation as to why mincha is especially propitious for one's prayers to be answered. That's in source number 3. He says, V'lichora kasha, lama nikra tfilas mincha. He first asks the question, why is this prayer called mincha to begin with? What does the word mincha mean, by the way? Minucha could mean to rest. Okay, good. It also means a gift. Mincha hi shlucha la'adoni la'esav. In Parshas Vayishlach, Yaakov calls the gift that he sends to Esav a mincha. Some commentaries say that it has to do with minucha, as you'll see in just a second. But we're going to get to the mincha part of mincha. Bishlam tfilat shacharit hu be'et me'ir hashachar. Utfilat ha'erev mipnei shehu ba'erev. I can understand shacharis, because what does the word shacharit come from? From shachar. Shachar is morning. Arvit, or ma'ariv, comes from the word erev, which means evening. But where do you see the word afternoon connoted in the word mincha? אבל תפילת מנחה למה נקראת כך? והתוספות יום טוב הרגיש בקושיה זו, ומתרד שמפני כך נקראת תפילת מנחה שהוא מנוחת השמש וכו'. Like Rachel was saying. You said like the Tosfos Yom Tov. Very good. You could have written your own Mishnah commentary. He says because it's a time when the sun is starting to rest, come to a rest. So because the sun is starting to set and come to a rest, that's why it's called mincha from the word minucha. But he says, I have a different answer. V'li nirakach, but here's my suggestion. Shebishvil zen nikra b'lashon mincha. V'inei tfilat ha'shacharit tzarich adam lihitpalel al zeh shehechazir lo ha'neshama v'omer emet v'yatziv. He says, when you wake up in the morning, you should feel a sense of obligation to daven shacharis. You know why? Oh my gosh, I'm alive again. I could have been dead. I could have never woken up. I'm alive. And I have to thank Hashem for restoring my soul back to me, for giving me life for another day. I have a duty to thank Hashem when I daven shacharis. And that's why you say emes v'yatziv, that everything that God does is true and everlasting. V'gam asalo Hashem yitbarach kama tovot. Dahainu Hashem esh ha'meir v'od kama dvarim. And then when I get out of bed, I look out and I see, what a wonderful world. What a beautiful world Hashem has given me. And that makes me feel I need to say thanks for that. So shacharit, a person should feel duty-bound to be able to live another day and to experience all of the wonderful things in this amazing world that Hashem has given to us. Utfilat arvit gam kein mechuyavim anu lihitpalel al ma she'anu notnim laHashem yitbarach neshama bepikadon. Before we go to bed, we should feel duty-bound to pray as well. Please God, I'm about to lie down, totally defenseless. My neshama is going to depart from my body, or at least a portion of my neshama is going to depart from my body. I will have no control over my faculties. I will not know about anything that goes on. Who knows? Maybe a lethal bug will crawl up my nose and I won't know about it. I don't mean to give you my nightmares. But in other words, I entrust myself completely to you, Hashem. Right? So, Utzfilat, he says, and I trust you, Hashem, that there'll be another morning that I can wake up. It's a little bit scary when you go to bed, because you don't know if you're going to wake up in the morning. But I have faith, and I'm really praying to you, God. Please, as I entrust my soul to you this evening, please give it back tomorrow morning. And that's why emes ve'emuna is the bracha that we say in Ma'ariv. Everything that you do, God, is true and faithful. Faithful because I have faith in you that what you're going to give me tomorrow is my soul back. Now let's contrast that. We got Shachris, we got Ma'ariv, now let's talk about Mincha. Aval tfilat Mincha ein anu mechuyavim lehitpalel. What are we davening Mincha for? Why? Why are we doing it? Not like we just got our bodies back, our lives back. It's not like we're entrusting our souls to God before we go to bed. Rak she'anu minatvim ota. It's purely voluntary. Mincha is something that we do not because we're scared or because we're grateful, but because we love Hashem. Ulakach nikra lashon mincha shehu lashon nedava. And that's why it's called Mincha. Mincha is a gift. I'm not doing this to you, God, because I owe you anything, like I do by Shacharis. I'm not doing this because I'm scared of what's going to happen tomorrow morning. I'm doing it because I want to give a gift to Hashem. And that's why the rabbis legislated, because every Jew should feel that don't just pray to God when you need Him or when He's done something great for you. Pray to God to have a relationship with Him, to give Him a gift, plain and simple. And that's why it's called Mincha. The word gift, Mincha is a gift. Isn't that a beautiful interpretation?
Yes.
So if you think about it, when you think about it, that's the reason why, going back to the Kliyakar for a minute, that Yaakov Avinu's prayers are answered with such immediacy. Because it shows you the quality of that prayer. It's not just the thing that I feel I need to, that I'm indebted to do to Hashem. Hashem will answer me because He knows that I have to daven. But Mincha is something that I know that it's the right thing to do, not because Hashem is giving me anything or I'm scared He's going to take something away from me, but because I want to give something to Him. Hashem says, what friendship you're demonstrating to me, what closeness, how can I not answer your prayers with that level of immediacy? Yes?
If it's a gift to Hashem, does that mean that we can't pour our heart out to Hashem in Mincha and ask for?
No, absolutely. It's the structure of Mincha that's the gift, right? But what you choose to say in that gift offering can be a supplication. Of course, Shemona Esrei is you're supposed to pour out your heart at every Shemona Esrei and tell Hashem what you need. But the fact that I'm davening at this particular hour of the day is representative of the fact that I want this to be a gift offering and not an obligatory offering. So, I'd like to relate this back, this idea of Mincha and the immediacy of one's prayers being answered, to the whole idea of finding a shidduch. It would therefore not seem to be contrived if we combine some of these ideas together, that the most appropriate time to daven for a good shidduch is at Mincha. Number one, we find this is what Yitzchak did. And number two, Mincha is not about life and death. Mincha is a prayer to ask God for the pleasant things in life. That you restore my soul, that you give me another day of life, that I'm going to entrust my soul to you. These are life and death issues. The stakes are very high. Marriage is something that makes life wonderful when you're in a good marriage. Can you live without marriage? Yeah. Can you live in a bad marriage? Yeah. As long as there's no abuse, it's tolerable. You can go through life that way. But to have a good marriage, to have a good zivug, to have a person that you truly love and you feel that you're a soulmate with, that's something that you really need to ask God in the form of a gift. Please, God, gift that to me. Because I know that's not something that involves life or death, but it's still something that's so important to me, Hashem. And I recognize its importance. And therefore you daven it during Mincha. And I want to get back to Elaine's issue as well. Because Yitzchak wasn't just davening for the right woman. Because as Elaine correctly surmises, and I subscribe to that idea completely, Eliezer was already on the way back. It's already a foregone conclusion that Rivka is going to be his wife. So what was Yitzchak davening for? What was he davening for really, when you think about it? So I just say it slightly differently from the Kliyakar. He wasn't davening for the right woman. He was davening for marital harmony. You know, a lot of times we marry the right person, but because of poor communication, poor value systems that we accumulate over the course of time, selfish behaviors, then even the most perfect spouse can turn into a lousy relationship. Because of things that we do or the other one does to pollute the relationship. So what Yitzchak was davening for wasn't so much that Rivka should be the Basher. I know whoever Eliezer is coming is the Basher. But please Hashem, please give us both the wisdom to communicate with each other properly and to have marital harmony instead of marital discord. Give me the wisdom, give her the wisdom, and let us be able to work cooperatively together and have a beautiful life together. And I think that that's one of the reasons, and with this I'll conclude, that's one of the reasons why Yitzchak was davening at a place not only in the field, but he was coming from Be'er Lachai Ro'i. What was special about Be'er Lachai Ro'i? Be'er Lachai Ro'i was the place that Hagar had been chased out to, where she had the vision of the angel in last week's Parsha. So some of the Mefarshim, Rashi says that he was at Be'er Lachai Ro'i because he knew that an angel appeared there to Hagar. So he knew that this was a favorable place But there were angels in Avram's house all the time, so what does he have to schlep out to where Hagar's angel came? The answer is that he knew that Hagar was chased out because of marital discord, because of problems in the relationship. There was just too many people involved. It was this threesome with Hagar and Sarah and Avraham, and Hagar had misbehaved and Yishmael had misbehaved. And Yitzchak understood that part of the consolation to Hagar took place for that marital discord at Be'er Lachai Roi. And he felt if an angel can appear to Hagar to console her for that, then this is a good place to daven to Hashem, to bring up my prayers and ask that Malach to bring up my prayers to Hashem for marital harmony. And it also helps us to explain why Rashi says that there was another reason why Yitzchak was coming from Be'er Lachai Roi. Why was he coming? Rashi tells us in source number 4, Shahalach lahavi Hagar la'Avraham aviv she'yisa'ena. He went to Hagar, because he knew she was living in that area. He said, Hagar, my mother's passed away. Come home. My father's lonely. He needs a new wife. You were married to him for so many years. Come, Sarah won't disturb you anymore. Come back and be a new wife to my father. Which is pretty selfless when you think about it. But this too involves marital harmony. I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this to you before, but a lot of times, when people deal with second marriages, who interferes the most in second marriages? The children. In first marriages, who interferes the most? I was going to say parents, but if you say it's the mother, I'll accept that. Or mother-in-law.
Mother-in-law.
But the point is that this is the sensitivity that Yitzchak had. Not only did he not want himself to be married, and his father should be all alone. That's in itself a great thing. Why should I be getting married now, finding my bashert, and my father should be all alone? So dafka now, when I know that Eliezer's on the way back, I must do something to address my father's loneliness. But it's also, perhaps even for a little bit of selfish, and I hope you won't find this offensive in any way, but Yitzchak wanted his father to get married so that he could have his time alone with his new wife. In other words, Dad's going to want to be the fifth wheel. Everywhere we go, we're going to go out for dinner one night, and we're going to leave Dad in the tent. He's going to be all alone, just watching, reruns of something. We can't do that to our father. I can't do that to my father. So I'll have to schlep him along to go out to dinner with us, and it won't be as romantic. So let me make sure that my father is his life is enriched, so that, number one, he has a great life for the remaining years that he has ahead of him, which were many. And also, that I should be able to build my home together with my wife, with my new wife. Unfortunately, some of the things that we deal with in the rabbinic community in counseling new couples is that parents have too much time on their hands. Take heart, dear audience, that sometimes, even when you see your kids making mistakes in their relationships, once they're married, it's their life. Find another hobby. Find something else to do. Do something romantic with your own spouse instead of finding things to do and meddle into your children's relationships. So that's the other cautionary tale that I think we see from here. But the bottom line is, Mincha. Daven, Mincha, and Bezrat Hashem, all your prayers will be answered. Have a great day.